So jaw release is good. So you have to sort of let your face go soft, that's right, and then sort of manually, so you're finding this gap of your jaw, and you're going to sort of manually open your jaw with your hands. So you kind of go...
Oh, am I doing this right?
No, right. So there is massage, but to release the jaw. So put the balls in, and then just relax your face, and you're going to literally manually open your jaw.
Oh, okay. Like that.
Yeah, with your hands.
Oh,
and then if you do that a few times, then when you talk, you will feel that your jaw feels looser, and you're able to talk more freely as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I can feel it. It's like a bit of a numbing sensation as well, but it's like more open.
If you can open your mouth and you can have a nice rich tone, a breath supported tone, and you're articulating correctly, and the sounds that we make are made in all different areas of the mouth depending on which muscles and everything they're using.
Research shows that first impressions are formed within the first 7 seconds, and vocal cues are a substantial part of this. Studies indicate that a person's voice can be up to 38% of the initial impression made during a conversation, which includes qualities like tone, pitch, and speech rate. So because this is really important, let's have a little bit of discussion about our voice. Welcome to the show, Kaffy Rice Oxley. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Ricky. I'm all good. Yeah, nice to be here.
Yeah, lovely to have you here. So, Kaffy, obviously you're a voice coach at Voice Confident. Tell us just a little bit about what that is that you do.
Well, I'm looking at all areas of voice really, and as you say, the voice is something that people do judge us on, and if people are going to judge us on our voices, then really we want it to be something which really represents us, advocates for us, that we like the sound of ourselves, because if you don't like the sound of your own voice, your voice allows you to give physical manifestation to your thoughts. So if you don't like your voice, then that's going to put barriers between what you're thinking and how you're able to communicate with people. So I help people with their speaking voices, and also with all of the other presentation things around that's all the non-verbal, all the posture and the gestures and the facial expressions, everything else that we're doing when we're speaking and communicating with people.
Brilliant. Now, and I'm really, really interested in this because, I mean, we've known each other for almost a year now. And obviously when I met you, there was lots of like synchronicity, synergy, however you want to describe it, because we both do presentation training. And one of the great things that we often talk about is in the Confident Club, we talk about the tools in the toolbox and about how we can make more impact. And I think it's just something that we often see in presentations that people we speak in that kind of modulated tone in that same voice, and just we believe that that's all we can speak about, and that's how we speak. But my question is this, Kaffy, could I sing like Beyonce?
Ooh, that's a really difficult one. I'm tempted to say yes.
You don't have to put me down. You can say no.
You are male, so this is a difficult one. But no, you're absolutely right. So your voice is an instrument. We've talked about this. Your voice is an instrument. Your voice can do amazing, amazing things. Most people with their spoken voice, they're only using a fraction of what this instrument is capable of. And I always say to people, you have to think that, your vocal instrument is the same as all the great singers, all the opera singers, Beyonce, Whitney. Your vocal instrument is the same as all the great singers who've ever lived, all the great actors, all the great impressionists. I mean, think of all the actors we know on TV that can show up in completely different ways just by changing their accent and the voice and the way it's produced. We all have the same vocal instrument. So it's just a series of, muscle movements and, things interacting in this very complicated instrument, and habits, physical habits. So, you can pretty much learn to do whatever you want with your voice. Singing, absolutely. Everybody can sing. It is physical. It's just a case of learning how everything works and learning to produce things in a certain way. So all this, I can't sing, I've never been able to sing, rubbish. Everybody can sing, and everybody should sing because it's really good for you. It's good for the soul to sing.
Well, thank you. You fulfilled my dream now, because I used to believe it's one of those things like, you're from Lincolnshire, you can't sing, in those tones that you have. But obviously, yeah, absolutely, we can, right? We've all got the same thing. So I'd be interested to talk about, we know that this is obviously a big impact. So first, let's just talk a little bit about the science here, because unconsciously, I'm speaking right now. I'm not even having to think about it. It's just coming out. I might be, adding a few phrases or a few inflections and stuff like that to make it more of an impact. But what's actually happening right now as I'm speaking? What is the science of what's going on?
Well, you've got lots of things going on. Your respiratory system is supporting your voice. You've got a steady flow of air, which is passing your vocal folds, which are housed in your larynx, and that's making the sound. And then you are curating that sound using your articulators in your mouth. So your tongue very heavily is involved in almost all of the sounds that we make, but your tongue is interacting with, movements of your lips and your jaw. You've got your hard palate, your soft palate. You've got various different types of resonance. So the sound itself is being made here, but it's being changed into speech sounds with everything here. So that's,
okay. Right,
that's a lot of science chat for you there, Ricky. Yeah.
So this vocal folds thing, what's that? Yeah. Elaborate on that. So to create like a visual picture for me in my mind, what is that?
So you've got vocal folds, and they are sort of mucous membrane. They're vibrating very, very, very quickly. So as the breath comes through, it's to do with the rate that they're vibrating, and they stretch and relax. So when we have them stretch, this is the higher pitch, and then when they relax, we get the lower pitch. So there's a lot going on. Also, our larynx moves up and down. You might not be aware. There's a lot of very complicated movements. But as you say, most of the time we're not thinking about this at all. So unless probably you are a singer or you're using your voice professionally, you don't tend to think very much about what you're doing. If an actor, say, needs to develop a new accent for a film or something, they will work with a speech coach, and they will look at the whole thing. They will look at how the breath is coming through. They'll look at the position of the larynx. They'll look at the placement of the sound in the mouth. They'll look at which areas of resonance they're using, because all different accents all do things in a slightly different way. So when people put on an accent, for example, it's not just a case of making the sounds differently in their mouths. There's a lot more to it than that. Right down to the movement of the larynx and what you're doing with your vocal cords.
Right, brilliant. So obviously there's a lot going on there that obviously we're just not thinking about unless we're actively, we're a singer, we're speaking, or we're doing some recording, that kind of thing. But one of the things that is really impactful that you mentioned about this is about how the power of the breath really helps with this. So I'd love to take a bit of a dive into why is breath control so important for a strong and stable voice.
Yeah, it was quite interesting because the phrase breath control has become a bit contested in singing circles. There are some styles of singing where you're taught to sort of set the muscles in your abdomen and stuff, and we wouldn't generally advise that. So when I talk about controlling the breath, it's about being able to breathe properly using your diaphragm. So you've got this massive muscle, so you can't really see my hands, but you've got this massive muscle sitting just beneath your rib cage, above your internal organs. And this is, we don't have to think about breathing. Obviously, this is something that we just do. But interestingly, we can also control the diaphragm. So we can also choose when we breathe in and out. So we can, for example, breathe all the way out and then wait a few seconds before we breathe back in. Or we can breathe in and we can hold it, and then we can breathe out. And it's these muscles that enable us to do that. The reason that breath is really important with spoken communication is that probably particularly with nerves. So when people get nervous, they tend to take very shallow breaths. And if you take very shallow breaths, you tend to have to take more breath. And then, so when you were saying earlier that you were running out of, you were losing your voice, it may be that through that day, you've not had the breath support that is properly, it's a breath pressure thing as well. So probably the breath pressure hasn't been correct on the air that's been coming through your vocal folds. So perhaps you've been breathing too shallowly. Perhaps you've been speaking without enough breath pressure support. And this is all very wearing on the vocal folds. So then by the end of the day, if you've been sort of doing that all day, yes, by the end of the day, you are going to feel fatigued. So so with spoken, we don't think so much of breath control, but we think about breathing properly. So we would take a nice breath in through the nose, And as you do so, you would feel your lower ribs and your floating ribs sort of expand. So they go out forwards and they go out to the side. And this is to allow your diaphragm, which will then push down. This is why your tummy moves out when you're breathing properly, because it pushes down on your internal organs. So your belly sort of moves out and your ribs rise and expand. And this, gives you the most air you can. And then when you breathe out, the diaphragm then, it's like an elastic sort of thing. So the diaphragm sort of springs back into place and your belly comes back in. But yeah, if at any point if you're breathing right up here, you are going to get just too much air going in and out all the time. We don't actually need a lot of breath to speak on. Most of us speak without a lot of breath, but yeah, that's the danger, is if you're sort of breathing, if you've got far too much coming in, far too much going out. And of course, a breathy tone as well. If I put a lot of breath through my tone, I might start to sound either very anxious. You can sound really excited. So if you talk to, if your daughter comes home from nursery or whatever, done something really cool, she'll be like, daddy, 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 and this is what we do when we're really excited. But it also can make us sound very anxious. And if you do that over a period of time, you feel it. It is drying. To put that much air through your tone is drying. So being able to breathe properly using your diaphragm and to moderate the amount of airflow is important. Yeah.
So interestingly then, I think I see a video quite recently of a singer on stage, somewhere like, Glastonbury, and he had his top off, and the video was like diaphragmatic breathing at its perfection. And what happened was his belly, have you seen this? Yeah.
I don't think so.
It's where his belly like inflates, but it like pops in, pops out like really quick, which you don't really see like when singers are singing. So obviously he's obviously breathing, and it's like you see his tummy inflate, and he's a thin guy, but his tummy starts to inflate, and then it pops back in, and then obviously as he's doing his singing, then the next breath comes out. So that's him obviously diaphragmatic breathing, getting that airflow into projecting his voice.
Yeah, I've not seen that video. I mean, the sound of it popping back in is slightly concerning to me, because that maybe indicates
that's probably me exaggerating.
that he's tensing. But I mean, this is why we singers wear a lot of flowing gowns, because if you are breathing properly, you are expanding your mid-region, which but this is what some people do. You see, when they are talking with other people, say you're stood up and you want to look your best, and you tend to suck the stomach in, and and you're trying to stand looking your best, and therefore you're not breathing properly, because you're holding these muscles around your abdomen, and it all needs to be quite relaxed in order that you can take the breath that you need to. And it feels like, you see, people say breathe into your belly. You're not breathing. You can't breathe into your belly. You're breathing into your lungs. Yeah. But it feels like you're breathing into your belly, because your lower organs move out as they're pressed down by the diaphragm, and they move out. So it's a helpful thing to think, breathing into the belly. Yeah. Or sometimes I say try and breathe into your toes. So when you're breathing in, think of the breath, particularly if you're standing up, think of the breath going in, and then right down into the toes, and then right out again. So you breathe in, it goes right down into the toes, and then you breathe out again. So it's the feeling of the breath sort of going through your whole body, as opposed to it just being this little... We don't. Yeah. Want that.
Which is like, like my daughter does this now, where she's like, Daddy, and that kind of thing. It's like all that shallow breathing, because she's in sympathetic nervous system, that kind of thing. So I'm interested to obviously to discuss this more, because obviously we talk about this in terms of presenting the vagus nerve, and how especially diaphragmatic breathing can help us get into parasympathetic nervous system. Yeah. I tried this. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I tried this a couple of weeks ago. I was in the car thinking, when I have this chat with Kaffy, and I tried just like saying something, but I did it with like a conscious thought about up here, as like a shallow breath. And what I was listening to was like, so if I was to say, hi, my name is Ricky. Okay. And then if I did it with the diaphragmatic breathing, like, hi, my name is Ricky, there's such a difference between that. And is that just because of the airflow that's coming out? Yeah.
And as I say, it's partly to do with this thing called breath pressure. So it's to do with, the rate at which the breath is coming through. I mean, you make a really important point there about the vagus nerve. And of course, when I'm helping people, as you do, with anxiety, this is my absolute go-to technique to move from fight or flight into rest and digest, is diaphragmatic breathing. It's like,
Yeah.
there are loads of other things. There's some great eye techniques, but the root of it is the diaphragm. I mean, and I only learned relatively recently why that the diaphragm literally is physically stimulating the vagus nerve. I mean, it's absolutely amazing, really, to send that very powerful message to the brain that no, we're okay. As I say, I mean, I've said to you before, it's all about tricking your brain, really. When you're in a stress response, it's about tricking our brain. No, we are not stressed. We are fine. And so, having that, being able, having done the practice previously to know where your diaphragm, how to breathe into it. And it's so powerful. It makes such a difference. But in terms of tonal quality, absolutely. I mean, if I breathe out and then try and talk... So if I talk to you now, Ricky, and I've got kind of so there's no breath here. I mean, you can hear it's not a very attractive sound. So I sound really very nervous, but that's what people do.
Yeah.
Oh, that's better. Conversely, if you have too much breath, because sometimes people say, just take big, deep breaths. If I speak with too much breath, I'll try and do this. Hi, Ricky, my name's Kaffy and I'm a voice coach. So again, I can't, because I've got too much air. Reset.
Yeah.
Because I've got too much air there, I also can't control it. So if you take too big a breath, at the beginning you think, I must take a deep breath, take a huge breath, and then you try and talk. That won't work either. And in fact, if you're a person that has a naturally breathy tone, you don't, but in case of someone's listening that has a naturally breathy tone, or if they find that when they're nervous they speak with too much breath, actually breathing out a little bit of breath before you start to speak. So if you breathe in, just let a little bit of it go, and then start to speak, it will help you sort of correct that breath pressure. I mean, everybody, it's a bit like personal coaches for fitness. Everybody is so different. So you can always give general tips and tricks, but if people have particular issues, you need to work with a coach, because they will be able to hear what you're doing, and it can be anything. With the voice, there can be all manner of things going on. That's a few tips.
No, thank you. So that's really lovely, and it's really interesting to talk about this, because whenever we coach people for presentation skills, it's almost like they feel they can't take a breath during their presentations. Like, it's okay to just pause.
Yeah.
Take a breath.
Yeah.
I use this as an example all the time when I coach with delegates, which is one of the greatest things we always talk about. The most important part to any presentation is the beginning and the end. You've got to get people in the room. And Morgan Freeman did this wonderful exercise where he walked out on stage. It was in America, and everyone's expecting him to speak with the voice of God, that really low, husky voice that he's got. And he didn't. He just stood there and went. And he immediately just got everyone's attention. So not only is it a great way just to help people relax, and it's okay to take a breath rather than go, I need to get this presentation done really quickly, so here's my slides. And, just pause is a really good way just for you to help with your voice, but also to help with nerves as well. So, challenging on this one then. Oh, sorry, Kaffy, go on.
Well, hang on, just on that, I have a thing that I call BiSpec. So it's BiSpec. And I suggest that people use it before they start, but also when they get a natural break in anything. So it stands for breathe in, smile, pause, and eye contact. Because if you've got a room of people, so when you first go on, so you take a nice breath in into your diaphragm, obviously, because this is going to calm your whole system down. So you take a nice breath.
Yep. And
you pause, because that's sort of saying to people, something's about to happen. And you smile. And if you smile, we've not actually talked about this yet, but when you're smiling and you're lifting all the muscles in your face, particularly if you can smile with your eyebrows and your eyes as well, this is also going to help you with your vocal tone that's about to come out, and your eye contact. So if you're walking into a big room, you're looking around the room, and this is hello audience, that this is me, I'm smiling at you, we're going to have a great time today. The pause says something is about to happen, and then you start. And again, you can try that. You can do that again when you have a natural pause, whatever it is. Say you've just asked a rhetorical question. I usually take that sneaky opportunity to BiSpec, breathe in, smile, pause, eye contact, and then you continue. And it's a natural reset for you. It's a natural reset for the audience. It sort of reconnects you and them. So that was probably, he was doing a sort of version of that. And the pause, as you say, which says something's about to happen here. Hello, folks. I'm here, something's about to happen, and everybody gets prepared in the room for what is about to happen, and then it's
very commanding. Very, It grabs authority, doesn't it? Because I think most people think that I have to start my presentation off by going, "Hi, my name's Ricky. I am a confidence coach, and today we're going to talk
about
slide number 1, please." When actually just standing there saying nothing is great. So just to recap on that, so I've got that correct. So because I was like holding my breath, and when I was smiling, I was like, wait, when do I breathe out? So I breathe in, pause. When do I breathe out?
Well,
so breathe in.
You see, for me, I've been doing this a while, so I tend to do it. It's all kind of a one thing for me. So it's a breathe in and a smile and a pause and a looking around the room, and then we go on. So it's does that make sense?
Yeah. I was.
So as I breathe in through my nose, No. So as I breathe in through my nose, I will also be smiling and lifting. Because sometimes, especially if you're sort of halfway through a talk and maybe something's gone wrong, or maybe you're thinking, oh, I didn't say that quite right, or maybe you're thinking, that guy's asleep, or whatever it is you're thinking, and your face, you forget, sometimes you can forget to be doing the eye contact and the smiling or the appropriate expression. So it just gives you that moment of reset. You get to a pause, you ask your question, or you've just changed your slide or whatever, and then you're like, and then we go on, and it's just Love a momentary thing. But because you get the combination, because as you know, that the smiling mechanism as well also sends messages to the brain that we're okay, because we don't smile when we're under threat. So the diaphragm, vagus nerve, we're okay. The smile and the lift, we're okay. And the eye contact, you're making personal connection again to the brain that says, this is good. I'm looking at one person, we're connecting, this is good. And all of these messages, it's like a sort of real, hormone boost. Yes, we're good. And then you can carry on. And if you practice it, it's like everything, it takes practice. But if you practice, just the doing of it is a memory in your brain. Yes, this is what we do when we're resetting and we're okay. And then you go on. Yeah. So, every if you work on that as a technique, it gets better and better, and then you can. I actually do it in conversation sometimes. If I realise I'm, either not focused or my face is fallen or whatever, then and then I'm back.
That's nice. Yeah, that's a good way, isn't it? To like you said, trick the brain. The physiology there. I'm smiling, so the brain goes, "Oh, great, he's happy, so let's make him feel great." And I've just realised that Daniel, who's my teammate, confidence coach, he does this at the end of the workshop. So on the end of day 2, he stands there. I've just realised what he's doing. So I now know that. So that's fantastic. I'm going to let him know that. So obviously, we talked about the power breath, how that's really important. Yeah. Is there another breathing exercise that can help with vocal endurance? So we've obviously done the BiSpec. Is there anything else that you feel like is a natural thing, or would you say it's just the diaphragmatic breathing is probably the most beneficial thing to do that?
Yeah, box breathing is probably, so the 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out, 4 hold is really good, just to get you to understand where your breath is and sort of be able to control it a little bit. And then, as you know, one of the best things for stress and anxiety is the exhale emphasized breath. So you're trying to get the exhale longer than the inhale. So if you're confident with the box breathing, which is the equal in and out, you can then practice maybe breathing in for 4 and holding for 4, but breathing out for 6, and so you can try and get this exhale longer, and that's a really good one to practice. If you're not used to where your diaphragm is, a good exercise to do is to breathe in and you breathe out on hard Fs. So, and you keep going, and at the end you can sort of feel, so you go like this, almost until you can't do it anymore. And go on, try it, Ricky. And then at the end,
I'm breathing through my mouth.
Breathe in, and then you just go f. So you're going.
Oh yeah, you can feel, yeah.
And then you feel this sort of like stab here.
Yeah.
And that just sort of engages.
And then breathing out, going F.
Yeah. And if you keep doing it right till the end, you sort of feel this bit of a stab here. And that's the movement of your diaphragm. And then so after that sort of engages your diaphragm. Like if I need to warm up very quickly, I normally start with that. Do you want me to run you through if I was doing a really quick warm up? That might be helpful.
Yeah, let's go for it. Yeah.
So if I'm doing a really quick 5-minute warm up, I would do that a few times just to engage, and then I would do some exhale emphasized breathing just to make sure that we've just talked about. We've talked a little bit about the lungs. So to warm up our vocal folds in a gentle way, the best ways to do this are either humming, Because what we're trying to do is, if I were to go straight to singing, this is quite hard because you're getting a lot of air through the folds. So to warm up the folds without a lot of air coming through, we can do humming, we can do what we call lip trills, like, you know, that kind of, because again, you've not got as much air coming through. My particular favourite is nunga nunga nunga. So if you imagine Nunga, nunga 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 nunga, because what you're doing there is you're moving the resonance from so you're moving from your like nasal resonance to your laryngeal resonance. So you're going nunga nunga.
So it's like my mouth,
nunga.
so I can feel my tongue at the top there, Kaffy. Nunga nunga. So nunga 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 nunga.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so you're going from the which is a type of resonance, to the which is like your laryngeal resonance.
Okay, cool. So that's kind of like those throat singers, you know, the I can't do it, you know. You know what I mean, right? That's right. Yeah, wow. Okay.
But you know, if I'm driving, I'll be like singing along to something, but not singing. I'll be going nunga nunga nunga. So I listen to One Republic, so I'll be going ninga ninga ning ning ninga ninga ning ning ninga ninga ning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, anything that you can do ninga ninga to. And then I would move on to now we've not actually talked about articulators at all. So your articulators, the way you articulate the sound is really important. A lot of us talk very quickly, and people say, oh, I talk too quickly. A lot of the time it's just that we're not actually articulating enough, because if we were articulating properly, that would necessarily slow us down. So as I said, your tongue is your main articulator, and I know this is one of your favorite exercises, Ricky. So we have the 8. So what we're going to do is we're going to polish our teeth with our tongue. It's not very attractive. We're going to go.
I apologise for any listeners that's picking this up.
So pick a corner of your mouth. So that's 1. So we won't do this now, but you do 8 in one direction, 8 in the other direction, and then 4 in that direction, 4 in the other direction, 2, 2, 1, 1. Now by the end, it's kind of pretty agonizing, particularly if you don't do this very much, but it's so important, because what this does is this literally releases your tongue. So your tongue is a massive muscle. If you see like a cut through of the, you know, a diagram, the tongue is huge. So this releases the tongue muscle, and when you've done that, you find that you have a lot of saliva in your mouth and you have to swallow, and also you kind of want to go because you know, it does, you can feel it under here. It's quite uncomfortable. But then if you talk after that, your tongue feels a lot more free in your mouth. So, you know, I know you've tried it. I hope people who are watching the podcast will try it, because it's a really interesting one. And, you know, and when you see people doing it, they'll be going, because it's so painful by the end. But it really does release the tongue, and then you can make all of your speech sounds much more effectively. You could also, you know, I would also maybe do a quick jaw release. I would give my face a bit of a quick massage. So jaw release is good. So you have to sort of let your face go soft. That's right. And then sort of manually. So you're finding this gap of your jaw, and you're going to sort of manually open your jaw with your hands. So you kind of go.
Oh, am I doing this right?
No, right. So don't. There is massage, but to release the jaw. So put the balls in, and then just relax your face, and you're going to literally manually open your jaw.
Oh, okay. Like that.
Yeah, with your hands.
Oh.
And then if you do that a few times, then when you talk, you will feel that your jaw feels looser, and you're able to talk more freely as well.
Yeah. I can feel it. There's like a bit of a numbing sensation as well, but it's like more open.
Yeah, but you see, again, when people speak, very often you see people who kind of do this. They sort of set their jaw, and then all of the speech sounds are being made in a very small. And people do this when they're stressed as well. They sort of tense everything up, and they don't breathe, and so you've got this poor vocal quality, and you've also got just all of the sounds being made with the lips and the teeth and the tip of the tongue, and it's just not very attractive. It sounds like a very closed tone. if you if you can open your mouth and you can have a nice rich tone, a breath supported tone, and you're articulating correctly, and the sounds that we make are made in all different areas of the voice, of the mouth, depending on which muscles and everything they're using. In terms of placement, so we talked about nunga 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 for resonance. In terms of placement, a lot of, particularly England, well, you've just been to America, so people have nice sort of nasal voices over there, but in England sometimes, particularly with all these Zoom calls, we get very lazy. So we tend to slouch a lot and we talk a lot off of our throats. So we get a lot of this, what we call vocal fry, which you can do for a little while and makes a sound, maybe quite relatively chilled. But it's not particularly good for the back of our throat. So we want to get the sound forward. So in terms of placement, you're aiming to get the sound behind your front teeth. So to try to get the placement there as opposed to here, because this is going to be really tiring for my voice. So I want to get the placement up here behind my teeth. So to do that, the best thing for that is to do a nya or a nya. So if you go nya, 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 and nya, and think about it, it's coming out of this region. It's not nasal exactly, but it's coming out of the middle of your face. Nya, nya. Think about it pushing at whatever you're looking at now, Ricky. Think of it, the sound going directly sort of, out of your top teeth in a straight line. Nya, nya, and then try and go nya, 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 and then say I'm Ricky, I'm Ricky, I'm Ricky, I'm Ricky, I'm Ricky, yeah, and then try and say I'm Ricky, but say the same placement of the sound. I'm Ricky. So if you do. Can you feel where the placement of the sound is now? Yeah, I can feel it there. I'm Ricky. So it's about doing the nya. Yeah, and then you want to obviously transfer it into what you're saying. So with people who have real placement problems, I would get them to say whole sentences with nya at the front. So nyai niki nya nyai nya 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 nyan fident nyab. I'm Ricky. So until they can sort of feel the placement in the correct. I mean, if you must know as well, because if you're doing a whole day wedding or whatever, then by the end you're getting lazy and it falls down. A lot of people also have that thing they do in speech where they start here. So when they're talking to you, they start here and the end of every line is sort of relaxing into here. And then they'll come back and speak correctly, but just sort of falls back and back and back. And this is it's a pattern that a lot of people have. And as I say, you can do it occasionally. And a lot of singers, we use vocal fry as an effect in singing. You can use it. Like metal singers use vocal fry a lot, don't they? Yeah, it's a technique and you can use it. But if you are routinely speaking on your larynx like this, you are going to do your vocal folds. You have to know when to use it, when not to use it. And honestly, when to use it is not all the time. You need to be able to place the sound correctly and then make choices about when you're going to use that. I mean, I think I've said to you before, when actors need to cry on film or on stage, that this is what they go to, because this sends a message to our brain that we're upset. If you've ever spoken to someone who's about to cry, very often you hear the crack in their voice first before the tears come. So someone will be talking and they'll be fine. I do this myself. I lost my dad last year. So I do this myself. If something pricks my memory and I'll be talking, I'll be absolutely fine. And then you'll remember something and it cracks and then you can come back. But you can hear that crack in somebody's voice very clearly. So this is one thing that actors do, is that they, actors have such control of their voices, they can choose where they're placing it. And I've even heard, I once walked past an actor backstage who was going, and it was literally, he had to then go on and be very upset. So this is a trigger for your brain that we're upset, that we're feeling emotional. Similarly, so this is one for your confident people. Similarly, then to make yourself feel confident, we smile. So we have exactly what we're saying. We have the breathing, the vagus nerve, the smiling, the muscles, all of these messages are going to our brain. And also, if I produce a very nicely placed, a forward placing tone, and my breath pressure is fine, all of this is sending messages to my brain that I'm feeling confident. So if you can learn how to do the correct voice placement, that will help you to feel confident. It's a biofeedback thing. learn how to do this technical thing, place your voice correctly. You will feel more confident because you'll sound more confident to everybody, but literally you'll actually be more confident because the confident hormones, the mood boosting hormones, will be flying around.
Interesting. Wow. So we obviously talk about a context of that in terms of feeling in a good state, you know, so changing your physiology. Yeah. So didn't realize that also changing your physiology also affects the voice too. So it makes sense, doesn't it? Really, didn't think about that. But that vocal fry thing is really funny because I love metal, and it always surprises me. But I absolutely love singing in the car, and I don't do any vocal warm-ups at all. It's probably why sometimes when I get to the end of a and I can't do the vocal fry. But I saw a really funny video where someone's like, so the vocal fry, you go like meow, like a cat, meow, meow, and then I can start. I mean, like, I'm not as good as Ollie Sykes from Bring Me the Horizon, but like. You know, it's great, but amazing tool. Well, Kaffy, because I appreciate we could talk about this all day, and it's really important. But so obviously we talked about these voice techniques, we talked about strengthening it. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was that, and I've my own worst enemy at this, about how do we ensure our voices remain really resilient even under heavy use. I speak a lot, I present a lot, I host weddings, I'm talking quite a lot, especially if I'm doing a series of events where I haven't really planned any rest time in between. I can lose my voice, and I lost my voice at a wedding twice in 2 years, and it was horrible because as the host, you are the go-to person, and I'd love to hear about what's the benefits, or what should we be doing to stay more resilient, and is it something to do with hydration? How do I make sure that I don't lose my voice again?
Yeah, so hydration is absolutely key. So the vocal folds need what we call systemic hydration, which is what comes from the inside, and as you know, you need to be drinking water 4 to 6 hours before for that to have an effect. You can't just sort of have a glass of water before you go on. So if I'm singing at 2 o'clock, then from 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm it's particularly hard if you have to sing in the morning because you've just had a night where obviously you've not been drinking water, and then you get up and sing. So you want to be thinking 4 to 6 hours before to get you to water for your systemic hydration. Then of course the superficial hydration. So sipping water. Gargling is particularly good. I swear by chewing water? Gum myself. Sorry?
Salt water? Sorry, Kaffy. Salt water or normal water?
No, I would just go normal water.
Okay.
Yeah, just lots of normal water and gargling. So, nip to the loo, water bottle, quick gargle before you go on. Gargling is sort of better for the vocal folds than just drinking. Drinking is great. Do lots of drinking. What was I saying? I forgot what I was saying there. Gargling.
So gargling 4 to 6 hours before
I was saying,
drinking water.
Superficial hydration. Yeah, superficial hydration. So we want to keep sipping water. I was saying chewing gum. That's right. Yeah, I swear by chewing gum because chewing gum, which is getting your jaw going and your tongue going, so we get the saliva production, which is what we need when you get nervous, as you know, Ricky. So our rest and digest system sort of closes down. Rest and digest is what produces saliva because it's to do with chewing food. So when we're very nervous about something, saliva tends to go. So chewing gum, I find that helps, keep the jaw moving and keep the saliva being produced. Gargling, steaming. So, maybe home before you go out, steaming is really good. So water. And the other thing is the placement. So as we've talked about, the thing that fatigues most people is that they're not thinking about where their voice is being placed, and they get tired and they get slouchy. And particularly for you, and it's the same with me with singing, sometimes you're in very loud environments, and so say you have your break and people come and talk to you in this very loud environment and you don't have your mic, and so you're having to talk over a very loud environment, and so we tend to sort of shout, sort of push the voice. Yeah, you tend to be sort of pushing, and that's quite hard on the vocal folds. So yes, it's thinking all the time. The least stress you can put, the higher you can place your voice. And actually, when people have colds and things, if you can almost make your voice more nasal, like the Americans do, the more nasal you can make your voice, the less pressure, the less work your vocal folds are having to do, because the more nasal resonance you're using, it sort of cuts through. Might sound a bit funny, but you will be heard. You can be heard, which is the important thing if you're having to perform or speak. When you feel that you're losing your voice, but you're not causing much damage. So the worst possible thing that you can do is think, I think I'll just speak really quietly. I'll just I'll just whisper. I'll just put like, whispering's really bad, so people say, oh, I'll speak really quietly, I'll just whisper. No, don't do that, because that's just putting like extra breath through your vocal folds and extra stress, and that's not what we want. We want to get the voice as forward as you possibly can, use all the resonance in your face, take the pressure off of your cords. So it's basically water and placement is the two most important things.
So that's really interesting, because as if I do close up at an event, quite often if it's a corporate event or even at a wedding where you've got a wedding singer playing in the background, it is very loud. So sometimes, if this is someone's ear, you're like, sorry, what was that? Yeah, hi, I'm Ricky, I'm here to entertain you. And then over time, if that's like, then I'm hosting later on, by the time I get to about 6 o'clock, I'm like, oh my God, and then you start to feel run down as well.
Yeah, to sound really sciencey, what you're doing there as well, when you said, hi, I'm Ricky, and you sort of, you lifted your pitch there, but still in your sort of chest. So you're actually lifting your larynx there. So you'd be so your larynx would be higher and tighter, and your jaw, everything is going to tense up, because you're trying to make yourself heard. So you're sort of yelling. Yeah. So you get all this tension. We've not really talked about that, but and sort of muscle tension, neck tension is bad for the voice as well. So bizarrely, probably the best thing you can do is try to undercut the noise. And this is particularly for women, because we tend to speak at about the babble noise. We tend to have the same pitch. Men normally find it easier because you can just go deeper and you can undercut the noise. So it's a tip for women as well, is to, instead of trying to go over the top, try and go underneath it. So actually make your voice more resonant. So use more resonance, slightly lower your pitch. Don't talk in your throat, but slightly lower your pitch and use more resonance, and try and talk underneath the pitch of the babble. It's very hard. It's very hard when you get loud environments and you don't want to lose your voice.
It's one of those things, isn't it? I think like take responsibility where I've had to do this before, and I've mentioned to people that if loud music it's in my contract. If loud music is too loud, then the performance will have to stop, because I can't do my job if it's too loud. Quick fire question then: ice in water, I've heard, dries your throat out. Is that correct? If you're having a glass of water?
I've not heard that. I'm not familiar with that myself. I don't use iced water. I just have room temperature water. Also, if you're ill and you lose your voice, I do swear by honey and lemon. I'm definitely a honey and lemon girl. Not just before you talk, but sort of beforehand for the antibacterial qualities, etc. So warm honey and lemon. But no, I'm just a room standard water kind of person, and lots of it. So
I just realised, Kaffy, I think that, because I lose my voice quite a lot, and I think because sometimes where I've done like a series of weddings, then I'll rock up and deliver a Compton Club workshop, and some of the coaches will know this, where like my voice is going. Probably because I got a bad cold, because of nursery bugs and that kind of thing, and then you start to feel run down, chest infection. Yeah. But I believe that I'm probably damaging the voice because of those events where I'm going, sorry, hi, my name's Ricky. Hi, who are you? And over time, I'm just damaging it, and I'm not really giving it. So I'm thinking about, because I'm conscious for time, a question I wanted to ask you, which is in relation to this as well, is about dry mouth. So I've seen this before, where speakers will often go, dry mouth when they're presenting, they might get the little bit white there, sort of thing. So dry mouth, is that linked to nerves, or is it just not enough hydration earlier on the day, like that 4 to 6 hours?
I think when you see people do it in performance, it's normally nerves. I mean, yes, obviously your mouth will dry if you're not sufficiently hydrated, but it happens very suddenly. And if you've ever had a sudden shock, I had it happen to me once. I had some bad news, and almost immediately it was like my tongue was sticking to the roof of my. It's quite an extraordinary thing when it happens. So if you get on stage and you're very, very nervous, and that stress response kicks in, and as you know, your whole system is just, where is the oxygen? I need loads of energy, and everything else just stops. Saliva production just sort of slow down and stop. So so you get a dry mouth. You can't move your tongue as well, so your articulation goes, and then people are thinking, and then sometimes you have to clear your throat, because this is the other thing. If you're dehydrated, you actually get thicker mucus secretions. So then you get this like all the time, and then you think, oh, I've just like coughed on stage, oh no, this is going really wrong. And it's like it's a horrible spiral, isn't it, when you can feel these sort of things happening, and you have a sip of water, but it makes no difference because this is your stress response. This isn't to do with needing a sip of water. So I think the dry mouth thing, which, as I say, I use chewing gum for that myself. It's part of my sort of getting ready for show routine, is that I would have gum to keep my saliva going. But we've not actually talked much about controlling the stress response, but I think it's all mixed in with that if you do some work to control your stress response, that's going to have an effect on everything, including your mouth not drying. I guess I would say, if that happens to people on stage, to just you have to take things like that in your stride. Just keep having sips of water. It happens to everybody, and keep doing the BiSpec thing, the pausing and the smiling. Try to get those messages to your brain. No, it's okay. I'm okay. Generally, people in an audience, they don't mind if there's a 2 or 3 or 4 second pause. They don't actually notice it. You think it's really noticeable. It isn't. Take a second, have a sip of water, reset, smile, try and indicate to the brain, we're okay. These things do come back. And as you know, once you can get that parasympathetic system going again, things come back very quickly. Your heart rate goes down very quickly. The shaking stops very quickly. Your mouth, goes back to normal very quickly. There's a lot you can do. I mean, you and I are the same in that confidence is something you can learn it, you can develop it. There are skills. We don't want anybody out there saying, oh no, I could never do that. Oh no, oh, it's not for me. I'm not confident. I can't do it. It's like, no, you can learn. It's like anything else. You learn the skills. You apply them. You develop them. You get better and better and better over time. And you never stop learning, do you? You and I were both performers. You never stop learning. Every performance is different. You learn something from every performance. You get better at controlling yourself and your nerves and, your vocal abilities every performance.
Definitely, it's a strategy, isn't it? And I love that. And I think that to kind of wrap this up, because we've gone into some really great detail about this, and there was loads of other stuff I wanted to talk about, because I know, like, maybe we'll have to come on for a second conversation about non-verbal communication, because we know that 55% of that makes the impact as well. So although our voice is really important, we think about non-verbal. But I guess if we were to think about...
and just on that, Ricky, I was going to say there are non-verbals of the voice as well. So as well as all the non-verbals of this, there are what we call vocalics, which is all the little sounds you make, like and the ers and the yes, and then there are paralinguistics, which is the how you say stuff. So that's like a whole other piece, is that how you use your voice to influence, to persuade, to, encourage, console, etc., etc. Yeah, sorry, carry on.
Brilliant. We'll definitely do an episode 2. So here we go then. So just for all the listeners then, could you recommend maybe a daily routine or 2 or 3 things, maybe a checklist that we can do every day to maintain a healthy voice so we can communicate with confidence?
I would say practice your box breathing, so that if you are nervous, you can bring that out and it's something that you're familiar with, that your brain is happy with, and that's going to really help to calm you down. I would say the resonance stuff, so just humming along to music, singing along to the radio, the nunga 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 stuff, to get your resonance moving. The placement exercises, the nya 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 nya, try to learn, do the nya 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 nya, try to feel that nya nya, try to sort of physically feel it, so that then you can use your speaking voice, try and put the speaking voice, when you use it, into that same placement. And before you're speaking, definitely the tongue exercise. Just use your voice, play with your voice. Like, your voice is amazing. If people sort of played with their voices a lot more and did more singing and made more silly noises and silly faces, and you'd find then when you do your public speaking, which, as you said right near the beginning, a lot of people, they get up to do public speaking, and then the radio voice comes on, and people feel that it's just like, oh my God, like, where have you gone? Sometimes you meet people and they're fascinating, and then they get on stage and they're so boring. But people feel like they have to produce the voice in a certain way, and they don't. Like, our voices are crazy and interesting. And actually, if you can get on stage, or just in conversation, if you can be using all the different colours of your voice and the tones, and bit of vocal fry just for a bit of variation, bit of everything, that's going to make people interested, and that's going to make you memorable, make people want to hang out with you and work with you.
Love that. Kaffy, if people want to find out more, maybe they want to take a step into confidence to improve their voice, what or where can they find you?
So I'm Kaffy Rice Oxley on LinkedIn, and my website is www.voiceconfident.com. And yeah, it'd be lovely to hear from people. Very happy to give some advice out if people want some help.
Thank you very much. Kaffy, thank you for coming on the Unlock podcast. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ricky. Thank you for having me.